Good morning, all you awesome people, and welcome back to another Monday morning. I'm your host, Myles, and I'm excited to dive in with you this morning. But first, it was a crazy week last week, and there are a couple things we're not going to talk about on the show. The debate and that god awfulness, because no one needs to hear more about that. COVID-19, it's spiking up. You could get that someplace else, not here, right? Reminder, this is all about positivity. If you're looking for your latest political thriller or gossip, you're not going to find it here. We're getting you set up with mindset tips, things you can take action on, and some positive news to restore your faith in all of humanity every Monday morning. Got another surprise guest with you that we'll welcome in. They're in the green room right now. I can see them getting set up, and we'll welcome him in shortly. But first, I'm going to dive right in with the news this morning, and there's some really cool ones. So first, listen to this. There's a boy in Alaska that saved an aquarium. Okay, so there's a place called the Alaska Sea Life Center, and it was set to close, right? People aren't going to aquariums right now. Sales are down, ticket sales are down. They were going to close their doors. This kid didn't like that, though. He loved to go in there. It's one of his favorite places to hang out. So he started drawing pictures and sharing them on social media and selling them to raise money. And he raised a couple $1,000s. Nothing crazy. But people saw his effort in raising a couple $1,000s. And then donations started pouring in from around the world. And then the next thing you know, a few $1 million have been raised. And the Alaska Sea Life Center is not closing anymore. All because one little boy in Alaska decided to draw some pictures and sell them online. So that's a really cool story. Another one that's going to make you second guess every park you go to and every rock you see is this guy in Arkansas. He was at the Crater of Diamonds State Park in Arkansas, where anybody can go and hunt for diamonds. He found a 9-carat diamond on the ground in Arkansas. How crazy is that? He picked up what he called to be a shiny rock and put it in his bag. And then before he left, he went to go get his passport stamped by park officials to commemorate his trip. And they looked at all his rocks, and then they told him, you found a 9-carat diamond. So to put that in perspective, right, similar large diamonds, there was one that was a little over 4 carats, have been valued at over $500,000. And this guy found a 9-carat diamond. It's pretty wild. So we don't actually know how much his diamond's worth yet because he hasn't gotten it appraised. It's just sitting in a vault in a bank while he waits for the news cycle to die down. He's probably thinking he doesn't want to get mugged for this diamond. But how crazy, right? So next time you're out hiking, or if you're in Arkansas, go to the Crater Diamond State Park and maybe you can find a diamond. This one's pretty heartwarming. I saw this one online. Cool video of this if you look up this headline. So there's an 89-year-old man who's still delivering pizzas. He's working about 30 hours a week delivering pizzas, still has bills to pay, right? And one of the families he routinely delivers pizzas for is on TikTok, and they've got over 50,000 followers, and they share a bunch of videos, and they'll share when their pizza gets delivered. Because why not, right? It's TikTok. People watch that stuff. And people started asking them about this guy that was delivering their pizzas. Who's this old man? Why is he still working? What's going on? And so they took to TikTok and asked for donations and collected them from their followers. And they were able to make a special delivery to the pizza delivery guy. And they gave him over $12,000 as a tip. And the guy was crying, basically. I mean, who wouldn't? It was an overwhelming show of love and support that just brought him to tears. So a really cool story. So there you go. Some good news to start you out this Monday morning, because the world's crazy and we could all use some faith of ours restored in humanity, right? So I'm getting ready to pull up my dad joke because I'm going to welcome in our guest here this morning. And I don't know if he's going to laugh at me or not, but I got my joke ready. So let me intro this guy. So his name's Tyler. I met Tyler, about a couple years ago now. He was episode something in the 40s for Relish the Journey, my podcast, which I'm on episode 170 something. So this is a long time ago that I first came across Tyler. And I think he was a sophomore in college then. Now he's a senior in college. And so, yes, guys, he's a senior in college. He's an hour behind us. So it's 6:30. A senior in college is joining us live. That shows you the type of guy Tyler is. If he can do it, you all can wake up early too. But Tyler's doing some cool stuff. I always send people his way when they're asking, how do I do certain things, or how do I get started, things like that, because Tyler's like the mad scientist of marketing and digital media. He's always running experiments and then sharing his findings on his LinkedIn profile so that other people can learn. And that's what we're going to talk to Tyler about this morning, is this idea of a beginner's mindset. How do you get started when you have no idea where to start, and how you just start taking action when it can seem overwhelming. So without further ado, I'm going to bring him in here. Tyler, good morning.
Good morning, Myles. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yeah.
Awesome.
I could tell it's early. I think it's the first time I've seen you in glasses. That's how I know it's it's early for you.
I'm not gonna lie to you, Myles. I just rolled out of bed and I didn't do much visual prep, so I'm sorry to the audience that's watching for what they have to look at. But it's early, okay, but I'm happy to be here.
That's what live streams go for, right? Authenticity. Yep. Show the real you.
For sure.
So we'll warm you up then. Ready? See if you laugh at my dad joke. Okay. Who built King Arthur's Round Table?
I don't know.
Circumference. There you go.
That's a good one.
You want another one? Ready? What do you call a fake noodle?
Yeah.
An impasta.
An impasta. Oh.
You did get it. Nice. All right. So enough of me being dumb. So beginner's mindset. I want to pick your brain on this because, like I said in the intro, you're always doing new stuff and you seem to just not be afraid to try. And so I'd love it if you could walk through what goes on between your ears when all this is going on and what other people can use in their lives.
Yeah. So to give people a quick background, I think my beginner's mindset really started back in high school for me. I was approached by a guy in high school that I was just knew through a friend of a friend, and he had this football Twitter account where he posted cool, football videos and content and stuff like that. And he was like, "Hey, do you want to help out? You want to help me out running this account?" He probably had around 20,000 followers at the time, and to me that was a ton as a sophomore in high school, however old I was. And I was like, sure, I'd love to help. So I had no prerequisite skill of, running social media accounts. And I, hardly knew, I didn't really play, like I played JV football, but that was about it. And so I was really probably the least qualified person, at least that's how I saw it, to help this guy out with his Twitter account. But once I started and I saw, that there was organic growth and that there was like an audience, like real people behind these 20,000 followers, and those followers grew every single month. I was pretty immediately hooked, and I found myself wanting to look at metrics and analytics and DMs in between classes and when I got home from school. And I really realized that, man, I like to do this stuff. It wasn't like homework where I'm like, oh, I have to. It was stuff where I really like to do it. And so I kept doing it, and in my free time, that's what I was doing. And so it was really something that I was passionate about, and I found myself just gravitating towards more and more, and that was a weird feeling to me. I didn't really fully understand what the implications were in terms of like a career, or in terms of like wanting to earn money or like anything like that, because we weren't really making money. And then all of a sudden people started reaching out, wanting to do promotions, and this one guy by the name of Tom Wall, I'll give him a shout out this morning, and he said, hey, he's from Green Bay, sort of a serial entrepreneur type. He's like, you look pretty good at social media. Do you want to do that for me too? And I'll pay you, $10 an hour to do it. And now that's by no stretch, a lot of money. But at the time I was working at a grocery store for like $8.20 an hour. And I'm like, you're telling me I can do, social media work from my house for, just $2 more nearly. Right. So that was really eye opening to me too. And so I said yes, and I just kept doing it. And I think, to sum up sort of like the theme that I see over the, those early years, is that I had to really understand, whether I knew it or not, like the value that was given to me, and the value of sort of leverage that I had. I don't think I really had a nuanced view of what I was super interested in doing. I was just doing things that I found interesting. And I'm sure people that are looking to start doing something later on in their adult lives can probably have a better wrap their head around a little bit more about, what they enjoy doing. I was just doing things that I thought were fun, which is a very like, legit, it's not a great way to go about doing things, but I was a high schooler, so that was what I was doing. But I think I really quickly learned the lessons of understanding like where I have leverage and where I don't have leverage. And so obviously doing things for free in the beginning is just something that you have to do. And I don't really call myself an advocate of like doing free work a ton. I think, the work that people do it has value. And I think we're getting to a point as like a society and as a work culture where people doing social media work or graphic design work shouldn't really be doing it for exposure anymore. Those are pretty essential services in today's arena of marketing. But I think, working for $10 an hour or doing sort of social media management work that's a little bit of grunge work in the marketing world is necessary, and it's a way to cut your teeth. And I think any way you can do that, whether it's in an area or a field that you're interested in or not, is really, really important.
And so you went from the initial social media, and then, we met through podcasting, and you the How They're Here podcast. Now I see you with the Swipe Up podcast. I see you doing all sorts of things. Like you had this whole breakdown of what happened on your Instagram accounts when you started using Reels and that new feature. And it's just like anything new that comes out, you're hopping on it, but you're documenting it, and then you're sharing the successes or failures with the world. So
yeah,
why now? I mean, you started because it was fun, but like, why is it still fun, or what's the end goal for you, do you think?
Yeah, it is still fun. And I think, I hope people see that as reflected in my content, because I don't think I do the best job creating content super consistently on LinkedIn. There was a spurt for a while where I did pretty consistent videos every single week that had a semi-consistent format. There's a while I did How They're Here for a while that had a consistent format and a consistent upload schedule, but then that stopped, and then the video sort of stopped and changed. So my understanding of content and the way I see it benefiting me is I want to make sure, of course it can be helpful for inbound marketing for, people wanting to work with me, freelancing, doing social media and content creation work. Like, of course, that's a part of it. But, also for me, I know myself and Jordan and I were, shameless plug, just talking about this on Swipe Up. Like, how do you balance that making content for yourself, which you really don't directly get paid for? We were talking about, of course, there are times that you indirectly get paid for it because it works as sort of a lead magnet. But it's really hard to see that value when you're pumping out content every single week and people aren't hitting you up every single week to work with them. And so how do you balance that between doing stuff for clients that will actually pay you, at the end of the month for the work, for the direct output that you're doing for them? And so for me, content has always been something it's just something that I find fun and interesting. And my proclivities sort of swing back and forth. And for a while, I was really inspired to make video, and it was super fun to do that. And for a while, it was really fun to talk to local entrepreneurs in my area on how they're here on the podcast that I had going for a year and a half, 2 years. And then, like many things do to me, those things just kind of got a little boring and it kind of got a little stale. And I think the podcast is a really good example of that. It was really fun talking to people like you, Myles, and I met a ton of really great people in my area. And I think the podcast sort of feeds into that beginner's mindset, because I think that was a totally self-created opportunity. I was fortunate to meet a lot of people through the podcast that I don't think I would have met otherwise if it hadn't been for the podcast. You know as well as anybody, Myles, that asking somebody to pick their brain or asking somebody to coffee isn't a super effective way to get FaceTime with somebody. But for some reason, if you have some microphones and you have a bit of distribution, you can really convince people that you probably have no business talking to sit down with you for upwards of an hour to an hour and a half and have an uninterrupted, really authentic conversation, which was what I did. And it was really fun. But then I ended up talking to a lot of entrepreneurs. And to me, the whole process just got a little redundant, and I wanted to switch things up, and I wanted to do something different for a while. And so I made a shift to doing LinkedIn videos, which was a ton of fun. And now I'm still posting a lot on LinkedIn because, of course, as you can see, I'm still running Instagram accounts, and I still like to share my findings, not only because I think they're helpful to other people, but it's also something that I'm doing in my free time. As nerdy as it sounds, I'm actually sitting down and looking at these analytics. And so I think, why not just share them? Because, you might as well. And it does help me a lot professionally. I think that's really good. And now I'm doing the Swipe Up podcast, and I've met Jordan Lindell, and he was somebody that I really enjoyed talking to. And I missed having conversations like that on a regular basis with somebody else who is sort of experiencing the same things I'm experiencing. And as many people on LinkedIn that seem to be there, it seems like I was having conversations with somebody like me enough who was going through the same things that I was in terms of working for myself and trying to get clients and like living in this world of a creative professional. And so it's nice to sit down with Jordan every week and have a conversation there too. So that's a long answer, but the short answer is that I just try to do things that I'm excited about in the moment. And when that inspiration leaves me, I try to look for something new to do because I love to create and I love to connect with people digitally. And that's a really good way to do it. I just have to make sure I'm finding the medium that keeps me on my toes and keeps me interested.
Right. Yeah. And you said earlier that you did it because it was fun, and maybe that's not the best, I forget how you phrase it, the best thing to qualify it with. But I don't know what's better than that, right? If it's not fun, why do it? And so what I like about everything you just rattled off is that so many people like chain themselves to an idea and die there. Like this ship goes down and they're stuck with this thing they never gave up on. And it's okay to start and stop and begin and end. But then it's how do you leverage this effort and how they're here to then go to swipe up? Because I'm sure there's things that transferred. You began with and you had no idea, and now you have some idea and you continue to level up. And I just think that's where a lot of people get paralyzed is they don't know. But what I love about everything you've done is you didn't know. And in many ways, you still don't. But not only are you doing it, but you're sharing it. You're just like, hey, I'm doing it. And here's what I found out. And I don't know everything. And you don't claim to know everything, but you're documenting it and putting it out there. And everyone, he's still in college. This is what I love using as an example for. I told you this, I spoke to Justin Wynn's group for the Declassified College podcast. And there's also college students. And they asked, how do you get experience without getting a job? And I was like, go check out everything Tyler Webb's doing, because you have to create it for yourself most often, right? And no one's just standing on the street corner handing out opportunities. You're going out there and drumming it up online because it's never been easier. But also, since it's never been easier, it's never been more like confusing on where to start, because there's so many ways you can start. So I just love it, man. You make me want to go out and try new stuff, because you're always doing new stuff, and I'm just like, dang it, there's Tyler again. What am I trying to do? No, I appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, for people who want to get experience without getting experience, I think you're totally right. And I don't think there's ever been a time like there is now where things like creating an Instagram account and growing it to 20,000 followers is completely valid to put on your resume. And it's also something that people are looking for, especially if you're trying to get into marketing. I think there's I would just tell people don't be, and I think I ran into the stigma a lot, which is I thought that having my own podcast was stupid. And I suppose to a lot of people it is, and it was. But in terms of like professionalism and in terms of applying to jobs and all that sort of stuff, it's not stupid. And it's really helpful information, and it's really helpful experience. And don't downplay that experience, because I think for a long time I did. And I said, well, it was just a dumb Twitter account I did in high school that had 150,000 followers. And that's not dumb, right? Or it was just a podcast that I did where I got to sit down and I got to talk to really cool people. I learned really cool lessons, and they don't have to know that, maybe only 100 or a couple hundred people listen to an episode, or, they don't have to know that you're doing an Instagram account or you're running a Twitter account for free out of your house. Like, take that experience and try to translate it to what they're looking for. If you're looking for a different work experience, and don't downplay it. Don't shortchange yourself, because that's going to come across in whatever process you're going through, and recognize that that's really valuable experience, and you shouldn't sell yourself short on that.
Totally. Well, I'm going to let you go back to bed, Tyler. That was good. That's what I wanted before. I appreciate you waking up. I'm going to, you can leave the stream, or you can hang out. We can talk after I'm done, but I got a couple more segments to send the good people off into their week with, and then we'll be done. So I appreciate you sharing. This is all good stuff.
For sure. I'll be watching the rest of the LinkedIn live stream, Myles.
All right. See ya.
Yep. Thanks.
All right. Tyler Webb, everybody. Go follow him on LinkedIn. Check out the Swipe Up podcast. Go listen back to episodes of the How They're Here podcast. He's doing some awesome stuff. So I'm going to pivot from the beginner's mindset into what you do when you're actually already doing something, right? And look, I'm in my home office. We're all working from home, or most of us are working from home. Or even if you're not, and you're just working at the office, and it's another Monday, it's a little bit overcast here. I'm looking out my window. For me, how do you focus, right? And so last week I gave you the resource suggestion of a book. Today I'm going to give you a resource suggestion of something you can listen to. And so I found these, man, I really wish I remember who introduced this to me, because it's really been huge. But it's called Binaural Beats. And what this is you put in your earbuds when you listen, and there's two different frequencies going, one frequency in one ear, one frequency in the other ear. And those two combating frequencies create a third sort of auditory experience, which is like a rhythmic beat. And I'm not a scientist. You can Google this and read all the science about it, but the layman's explanation is it like reprograms your brain to focus. So if you are sitting there and you're thinking, oh man, I got to go through 100 emails, or I got to start this project and I really don't want to, you go on YouTube and search binaural beats. I use the meditation app Insight Timer, and they've got a bunch of binaural beats on there that you can listen to. Put that in for about half an hour. And man, I put that in, I'm in the zone. I zone out and I'm just crushing work. I'm super productive when I'm listening to that. So use that this week as you're trying to adopt the beginner's mindset and start, like Tyler was talking about, throw in your earbuds and put on some binaural beats, and it's really going to help you focus and attack whatever it is you need to attack this week. So that, our final segment is a weekly challenge. So last week was to participate more, not just be selfish on social media and consume everybody's content. You know, I mentioned last week, and I mentioned it again, with the advent of stories on LinkedIn as a good example, you see all the people that are viewing a story. I post a story, I'd see a couple hundred people that are viewing the story, but then maybe one or two people comment. So if you're just viewing and not commenting or sharing, you're being greedy, you're being selfish, you're consuming, but you're not giving anything back to the people that are putting things out there. There's a statistic out there that's like 1% of people actually engage on LinkedIn and other social media platforms. So I think the more that we all create and put things out there, the more we comment, we share stories, we affirm what people are saying, we share, it creates a much more positive environment, and more people would do it. We get to hear more people's stories, and everybody has a story we're sharing. So that was last week's challenge. I hope you all did it. I tried to be better at it and was commenting a lot more than I typically would, pushing myself outside of my comfort zone to do that as well, since I asked you to do it. This challenge could basically be called Be Like Tyler Webb. Stop thinking, start doing. When it comes to that beginner's mindset, so many people get caught up in planning and they never actually take action. So this week, whatever that is for you, it doesn't have to be starting a podcast or growing an Instagram account like Tyler was talking about, but you all have something out there that you said you're going to get around to one day. Well, one day should be today, right? It's Monday, perfect, start of a new week. Do that thing, or start doing that thing today. Stop overthinking it and just start doing it. So that's what I challenge you with. When you go and you do it, tag me up online, tell me what it was, send in a comment. I would love to see what those were. So shout out Julian James for commenting unseen work. You're 100% right, Julian. It all ties in to unseen work. Julian is referencing the TED Talk I'll be giving in a couple weeks, and the book that I wrote that I'll be publishing, and then the mastermind group that I'll be launching. And Julian's currently in the beta test of that mastermind about unseen work, where we're breaking down what nobody sees, what you do when you're unseen, and how that prepares you to be seen. So Julian, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for leaving that comment. I appreciate it. All right, everybody. A reminder, tune in every Monday at 7:30 Eastern for Monday Morning with Myles. I'll be joining you here live on LinkedIn, on Facebook, and on YouTube. And if you're not tired of hearing me talk, you can always go over and search Relish the Journey wherever you listen to podcasts and binge, because there are like 170 some episodes out there. I got 20 more. So I'm at like 190 that are recorded and scheduled to go out. So lots of awesome interviews. Tyler's in there. I think he's number 44. Tyler, you can fact check me, but he's in there. You can hear more of his story if you'd like what Tyler had to bring to the live stream this morning. So search that up. I really appreciate it. And also, you can check me out Thursdays, 1 p.m. on Dave Cooper Live. If you search Dave Cooper Live on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, that guy's everywhere. Dave Cooper is a contact of mine from my days in the construction industry. We have a live show together every Thursday at 1 p.m. called Increasing Influence. You can check me out over there as well. So, everybody, good morning and happy Monday. If you're just tuning in, you missed a good one, you can watch it back on the replay. Lots of good news, people doing awesome things. Tyler was a great guest, had some really corny jokes, which hopefully you laugh at. And then the challenge is to stop thinking, start doing. I hope you all have a fantastic week, and I will be here next time. So cheers, everybody.